topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, welcome to Learning to Dance in the Rain. This is Shelby Wagner, host of the show, and my guest for today is me. I'm talking more about scams. We started about talking about a romance scam last week with Beth Highland, and I wanted to continue that topic right here because scams seem to be they are getting worse and worse every year. When I wrote my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, Surviving Grief, Internet Dating, and Romance Scams, that was in 2018 I wrote the book. It happened in 2017. But in 2018, when I found out that it was a scam, by someone that I was talking to on the internet. And I discovered there was $145 million lost to fellow Americans to this kind of a scam. $145 million. Wow, to me, I can't even think about what $1 billion looks like, but $145 million, wow. But you know what? Last year in 2023, then the Federal Trade Commission reported $10 billion or $10.5 billion was lost to fraudulent exercises, people tricking other people any way they can to get them to release their money and give it away. And some say, well, it's not a crime because they gave me the money. Well, I didn't give him the money. It was a loan, he said. And no, he never paid me back. Never intended to pay me back. I just wanted quite a few things here to talk about. One of them is the fact that it does cost you money. Number two is there are psychological and emotional issues that we discovered other people. And it seems like all people that are victims of this type of scam experience. Because, you know, if you lose money or something important to you because somebody broke into your house, are you going to feel guilty that they broke into your house? It might feel a little bit guilty if you remember that you forgot to lock the door. But it's not your fault that they chose your house to break into. So it's not your fault. And funny thing is that most romance scammers especially think, how could I have done such a dumb thing? And I knew it was a scam, but I wanted to help this man who told me he was in trouble in China, had been beaten, his money stolen, and he would pay me back when he got back to the USA. He would be back as soon as I sent him the money, about 3 weeks later. Well, I sent the money, some of the money, and then that wasn't enough. He wanted more. And that's usually true. Let's back up just a bit here. How does this romance scam start? Well, as we were told by Karina a few in her episodes, and in with Beth last time, and even I believe with Becky's mother. No, that was a bank scam, so that one doesn't count. But in the ones with Karina and Beth, they were very, very similar to mine. They were mine was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, um, a romance scam, and in this case, the romance scam part of it was similar. You met the guys on social media. I think it was Facebook that this guy. Actually, no, there were several on face that I met on Facebook, which asked me for money, but I was smart enough to say no. And I just said smart enough. Um, just because I fell for a scam doesn't mean I'm a dumb person. And yet I felt dumb. I felt, why did I do such a thing? Why did I do that? And the scammers are trained to find your weak spot, and they found mine. How do they do that? Well, by talking, by convincing you that they're wanting a relationship, by falling in love almost immediately. So you will confide in them. You will learn to trust them and believe them that they're telling the truth when they're not. They're lying. It was interesting. I went to deliver a book, one of my books of Learning to Dance in the Rain, to a friend of mine who lived about 10, 15 miles away. She thought she had ordered the book on Amazon, and it didn't come. It was 4 or 5 weeks. And I said, well, where do you live? I'll bring you the book over. So I brought the book over and gave it to her. And she showed me the text messages that she had received, and they were almost exactly the same as the text messages that I had received. And I thought, wow, that is true. They are copying what they do. And they may be talking to several people at the same time, telling them the same thing. I've learned they write things down, they document them, they record them. And, when you're talking to some of these people, they are people. There's not just one talking to you, which is what it's supposed to feel like. But I once, several times, I would refer to something I had already told them, and they would uh, ignore that almost immediately, or whenever I asked it again, and they didn't remember, or they would say something that would tell me they didn't remember what I had said and before. And I thought, I wonder if there are more people over there talking to me than I think there are. I think I'm talking to one person, but you never know. The scammer could be 3 different people talking to you at the same time, one after the other. You wonder why sometimes they're available 24 hours a day. Uh, and maybe that's it. They work in shifts, and their shifts might be how our shifts are. But I think some of the people go into work at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and then the next shift starts maybe. Those people are coming around 11 or something. And then when they're done around 5 or 6, then there's a third person. And that's what I think that happened to me a few times, or maybe all the time. Anyway, you don't know who's on the other side of that screen. You don't know if he or she is telling the truth. It's just, you don't know. even though you've been chatting with this person for quite a while, and you think, oh boy, I really like this person. I can't believe how easy this relationship seems to be. And because they compliment you, they make you feel good. They try to, well, what do you like to do? What are your hobbies? They ask things that if you were in a live conversation with another person, you probably would just talk about your gardening. You might talk about just about anything, depending on who that person is. And if the closer they are to you, or if you think they're closer to being a best friend, the more you reveal, right? And somehow these darn scammers, they know how to manipulate you into telling them the information they want. And they create an atmosphere which makes you happy, makes you feel good, and makes you want to talk to them more often. You might look at your phone several times a day, just say, did I get a message yet? Or if the chat ring goes off and, oh, wow, and right away you feel good. Just before you even get there to see who is writing to you, there's a happy feeling inside of you because, here's somebody who really cares about me. Well, guess what? He doesn't really care about you, or she doesn't really care about you. All she wants is the money, your money. And she doesn't, or he doesn't know, or he doesn't stop until he gets it. So you need a couple things. In my book, Scams, I detail 150 different scams that people use to trick other people into giving away their money. By the way, that is against the law. It is illegal to do this. But, there are, I think I mentioned before, in 2018, when I wrote my book, it said there were 25,000 scammers online talking to potential victims and or victims themselves, trying to butter them up. And I can't think of a better way, a better description, butter them up to get them to trust them and give them their money, because there's always going to be a request. I think you need to buy my book. I wrote the book because I wanted, I thought this would be a handy book to set by your telephone and just remind you when you pick up the phone, what's going to happen? Is it a friend? Well, if it's a friend, looks to me like that name would be in your contacts and you would know before you picked up the phone who it is. But if it's a strange telephone number and it's from far away, why bother? It's a waste of time. How many times I've been working on writing a book, the phone will ring and I just automatically picked up the phone and right away someone says, I'm blah, 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 blah. And then they say, can you hear me okay? And that's a good sign to hang up, I have learned, because if you say yes, then that gives them permission to talk to you. But if this book is right near your phone and you go over and you look at it and think, oh, I better pay attention here. And I'll say, what did you say? And then they say something else and you maybe can recognize their name, but perhaps you don't even recognize the company they're talking about. But the best thing to do is to hang up if you have answered it and they say, hey, can you hear me okay? But I think the book is important because it does describe 150 different different types of scams. Now, you know, thousands of people now are struggling because they fell for a scam. And maybe it wasn't a romance scam, because there are thousands of different scams that happen every day, and they start over again. But this is a good reminder. If you have this somewhere near your computer and you see that you're talking to somebody and you see that book and you think, oh, I think this is a scam, I'm going to hang up. Or if you think that maybe it's a really good thing, okay, so, and you recognize that it's from a company that you know, so what should you do? Well, how about saying, I'm going to think about this, and you call me back another time, or I'll call you back when I get through. Then you hang up or end the whole call, or the thing on the internet, the message on the internet, and then you don't use their telephone number. Don't click on anything in their email. Go find that number from a telephone book. You can ask your phone to help you find a phone number for this company, and then call them and find out hey, do you have a salesperson called James Bond? And see what they say. Do you have a special going on for XYZ account or something? Check it out. Call a friend. Call your daughter. Call your son, and ask them what they think about this. And just think about this good deal a bit before you fall for it. I checked my emails this morning, and there are I think at least 5 or 6 messages that are thanking me for purchasing their item, something on there, like, for example, Amazon. Maybe it says I purchased an iPhone and I paid a couple $1,000s for it. Woo. Wow. Or maybe more likely a computer. And I didn't do that. Well, I know I didn't do that. So am I going to answer that message on that email? Am I going to call that number? It says, if you didn't do this, call this number. Another trick. Because if you call them, then if they're a fraudulent person, you have not solved the problem yourself. You have to call someone, a different number, one that you trust, really trust, and know is that company or is that person. Talk to your daughter. I think I mentioned last week even that I talked to one person. It was a grandparent scam, and the police department supposedly had arrested her grandson. He was in the jail, and he needed $2,500 to release, so he could go home. And they wanted the money right now. That's another clue. First clue is wanting the money. That tells you it's a scam usually. The second thing is wanting it right away. And don't tell anybody. That's another immediate red flag. Anyway, so she says, well, I'll tell you what, I've got to see if I can get the money together, and we'll talk later. So she hangs up, and she calls her daughter, who's the mother of the young man that the police officer said was in jail. And her daughter says, she says, do you know where Zach is? And he's in, I just got a call saying he's in jail and they need $2,500 to release him. And Dawn, the daughter, says, Mom, Zach's in his bedroom doing his homework, and he's not in jail. So you see, you have to check these things thoroughly before you send money anywhere. Um, you have to know that this is a real situation. I'm having so many scam calls since I am on a sucker list somewhere because I gave money to that first scammer, and it's getting very difficult for me to discern the real from the fake. But I'm thinking most of the time if they um, call me or text me, I've got to think: do I have an account with this company? Um, what can I see about that email that might be incorrect? For one thing, the other day I got a one from Norton thanking me for renewing my subscription at I think it was $300 and some dollars or $600. And I got to thinking, well, I used to have an account with Norton uh, Securities on my internet and so on, but I didn't have one presently. I went with a different company this last two times. Um, and then I got to thinking also, looking at the email, and it said it was drawing from an account ending in these four numbers. Well, that was good because that four numbers, I haven't had that account in years, probably since I had Norton 3, 4 years ago, 4 or 5. So I knew that one was safe. I did not click on anything, and I contacted um, PayPal because I had paid with PayPal to see had if they knew anything about it. And there was nothing on my PayPal account from Norton. So that was a real scam. I know that. Now I want to talk about again that it's not just money that you may lose. How many? I have not checked to see the number of teenagers or young people who have committed suicide because they were talking to someone on the internet, someone they had learned to trust, and did something inappropriate. Maybe they took a picture of themselves naked and sent it to this person that they were beginning to love. And or who knows? I've had tons of requests. And the men, I mean, let's face it, I was on and off the site over 6 years here. And I did meet a lot of really nice men, I have to say that. And I've dated quite a few several times. And I'm in a relationship now with a guy I met on a dating site. But those good men that I have dated did not ask me for pictures of me naked, and I have had requests like that, and I refuse to do that. There have been requests for, well, can you just show me some cleavage? Well, I don't have much cleavage, but I didn't want to do any of that because number one, I don't know that what they're going to do with that picture. And yeah, they may really think they love me now, which they don't because you haven't met them. But what are they going to do with that picture 2 years from now, a year from now? And a lot of times people these teenagers have found an email one day that says, well, I have all these pictures of you now, and what I want is money. And if you don't pay me the money, I'm going to post them on Facebook and to your friends and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of these very, very smart teenagers, they're not dumb, but many of them have committed suicide rather than face, well, paying $1,500 to someone because they thought they were in love with them and sent them pictures that they shouldn't have. So not only that, but in the New York Times, just 2 months ago, April 21st, yeah, just 1 month ago, there was a 3-day or 4-day series on the mysterious disappearance of a mature woman. And said, here was the headline: in one woman's mysterious drowning, signs of a national romance scam epidemic. Now, in 2018, I just want to digress for a minute. I wrote the book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, and about surviving romance scams. And darn, guess what? I called it an epidemic. That was it was in 18. I said it was an epidemic. At that time, $145 million had been reported lost to someone that they met on a dating site, someone they had learned to trust and even fell in love with them. And it was becoming, I thought, an epidemic. And now, what was that? That was in 18. And now, just last month, was the article printed here. And there's the headline: one woman's mysterious drowning gives signs of a national romance scam epidemic. The problem is, and I mean, it wasn't just money anymore. This woman was missing. It says the scammer who drained Laura's, and I'm not going to give her last name, of her $1.5 million nest egg and sent the widowed healthcare executive on a path that ended with her death in the Mississippi River, hundreds of miles from her Western Illinois home. And the man called himself Frank Borg. Frank drew Laura into a relationship after she connected to his profile on the popular dating website Match.com. Over months of giddy cell phone calls and in 100 of florid emails, Frank manipulated her by drawing on publicly posted detail of her life to forge a bond, and then induced her to invest with his online trading firm. As her skepticism grew and love waned, he strong-armed her into helping him dip his hands into the account of other victims. She had all these buckets full in her life, my mom did, said Kelly, her daughter. But there was this one bucket that was missing, and that was companionship. And that's ultimately where we're at now, is because of that. This increasingly common pattern, a modern spin that combines emotionally exploitive catfishing schemes with fast-moving investment and crypto scams, has served as the leading edge of an epidemic of pernicious scams targeting users of dating apps and social media and websites. U.S. Justice Department said FBI officials told CBS News there is a public account of the toll. More than 64,000 Americans victims in 2023. But multiple experts told CBS that those numbers significantly underrepresent the true scope. This may be embarrassing that they may have been victimized in this way, said Anne Rio, who oversees the Consumer protective branch in the U.S. Department of Justice. They may be ashamed. They may be afraid to tell their friends or family. But there are so many cases that go unreported. It is a national crisis unfolding largely in secret. The human cost is likely more severe than law enforcement can quantify. Senior FBI officials told CBS News a striking number of cases are ending with victims dying by suicide. They shouldn't feel embarrassed or ashamed, Rio said. These are sophisticated fraudsters who are preying on the human desire for affection, for connection with another person, and they are manipulating the victims using sophisticated technology. This is written, by the way, by a journalist in, let's see, her name, by Jim Axelrod, Sheena Samu, Andy Bass, Matthew Mosk, and Sari Aviv. And it was on CBS News. You can read it yourself by going to CBS station and searching their archives. This April 21st, 2024. This woman's story is very similar to mine. Hers involves crypto, and very much like Beth said last week, was very embarrassing to be standing at a Bitcoin machine in a gas station, putting in $100 bills and totaling them out. Can you imagine? I think some person, one of the, I don't know if it was Beth, said they put $2,500 worth of $100 bills in the Bitcoin machine. I hope they kept all the receipts. The Bitcoin machine does show the IP address of the wallet of the person that you're going. If you suspect that this person, well, if they've asked you for money and they want the money in cyber currency, you know immediately you're being scammed. Don't do any more. Stop talking to that person and immediately call the police and let them know. In the police, the law enforcement locally, the search has to start with them, and you have to be specific with them and tell them this is a crime. The word is spreading, and the law enforcement, they're a group called Orange, what is it? Shamrock, Operation Shamrock is now working to educate law enforcement that, hey, scamming is a crime and needs to be taken seriously, and it needs to work fast. So if you have a Bitcoin receipt where you've sent the money to that wallet, then they can track it and maybe get some of your money back. In my case, they didn't know anything about it. I think they didn't even really think it was a crime. Even when I got sucked into the second and third scam, I didn't write about this happened in 2021, 2020 and 21, 2 years, 3 years after, after the romance scam that my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, is about. Now, I did go and report it. I've maintained all my receipts of the Bitcoin and other gift cards and so on that I did. Oh, I felt so embarrassed, scared, actually, because if you go in to buy a gift card for someone and you want to buy $100 one or 200 or even more, right away you're questioned. What do you want it for? Well, number one, not really their business, is it? But you know what? They have had so much money stolen in this way that Walmart, Meyer, where I shopped, they wanted to know, even if it was a $50 certificate, whatever. They weren't willing to sell it to me unless I told them that I was going to give it to my daughter or whatever. But it was such a frightening experience for me. And it started as this man contacted me on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is a professional business site, right? I don't know if you know, but it is contacts networking thing for business. It's not like Facebook that's just sociable, whatever. But this man wanted, I don't remember exactly how he wrote to me, but I texted back and we got to talking. And, I really liked this guy. And he was very good looking. And, but I had been scammed in romance before, so I was just taking it very slow. In fact, I broke it off for a while because he was quite a bit younger than me. And he brought up the subject of Bitcoins. And I didn't know anything about Bitcoins. So I just kind of let it slide and told him I wasn't interested and so on and that. And he stopped writing to me. He was very nice about it, I thought. And then over the course of the next few months, I had several other people who contacted me right up front and said, are you interested in investing in Bitcoins? And I either did not respond or I wrote back and said, no, thank you. My son-in-law and my daughter said when I asked them about uh, investing in Bitcoins, they said, oh, no, don't, stay away from that. Don't do that. Well, I don't know. After about 6 months of different people wanting me to look into investing in Bitcoin, so I thought, that first guy, he hadn't bothered me anymore after I said no, I wasn't interested in Bitcoins, and so I thought that was a plus sign for him. The other people I didn't know, I hadn't talked very much to them, and so I contacted the guy again and started asking questions about the Bitcoin. And he told me all this information. Yeah, he had made enough money to buy his mother a house out west somewhere. I don't even remember that. And finally, he convinced me that maybe I ought to try. And so I tried. I did. He talked me through setting up Cash App. Found out my son had a wallet in Cash App. And Cash App is a legitimate way to send money. Like if my son needed some money uh, once for something that was urgent. And so it was easy to just transfer money into my WhatsApp and transfer it to him. And then he got the money. So it is a legitimate and easy way to send money to your loved ones. The trouble was in this case, the young man that I was talking to on LinkedIn, he told me how to buy the coins, which I did, and then I had to learn how to use that website, and he walked me through all of that for how to buy the Bitcoins and what to do. The trouble was that then he told me I needed to put it in this investment company, which had invested in other things like gold and silver were on there. And then there were a bunch of other words I didn't know what they meant or what they were. Crypto terms, I guess. And finally, I did deposit a lot of money there. And periodically, he would send me pictures, screenshots of how much my money was making. And oh boy, that looked good. Well, then, and on the website, it said right there, um, immediately, if you want to withdraw your money, you do this and you'll have the cash immediately in your account, in your bank. Well, that wasn't quite true, because when I decided to withdraw some of my money, I found out there were some hoops I had to jump through. So you see how easily I got involved in something that was it was a fake company where I deposited my money. And if probably if I had called that company, maybe, well, in fact, I did call that company, but you know, it all looked real. But you know what? When it came down to the checking out my money, I discovered that it was all fake and my money wasn't there. And oh my, the after effects of that, which happened 2 years ago, 2.5 years, almost 3 years ago now, I'm still paying for it. So when somebody asks you for money on the internet, you remember you don't know them. I don't care how long you've been talking to them. You don't know if they're telling you the truth or not unless you've met them. Um, it's just very, very risky. And Scams is a book. It's really thin. It is a lot of information in there. And I told a few stories to make it a little bit more interesting. It's available on Amazon, and it will help you to not lose your money. I promise you, it is an ultimate tool to prevent you from becoming a victim. And my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, has a lot of information. And the fourth part of this book is all about scams. It shows letters I received. So if you receive those same letters, you can say, no, no, thank you, and hang up and block them. Because if you keep talking to them, guess what? They have a way of hypnotizing you. So you will feel bad. I mean, you've lost the love of your life, you thought. You've lost all those compliments he used to send to you, they used to send to you. Um, you've lost a dream relationship. Maybe the two of you are going to travel together. One man was a captain of a ship or something, and he could hardly wait to retire so that we could get married and he could take me around the world on a cruise ship. What a beautiful dream. But that's what it was, a dream. It seemed real. The man seemed real. He sent pictures of him doing things that looked like what he was talking about. But it wasn't real. And so I didn't lose my house. I didn't lose everything I had. Like some people, like Karina in her episode back in February, uh, she lost everything and ended up moving back home with her mom in her 40s. And this happens so many times. But, you know, at least she's still alive. But guess what? She thought about suicide. All this could go away if I just killed myself. Please don't do that. That is a permanent solution for a temporary problem. And this show, I intended to help other people learn to be resilient. And resilient means you face the terrible times in your life, you deal with them, and you get through it alive and start on a happier path towards healing again. If you were healing during your grieving period when you lost your loved one, but you've got to be strong. Is it easy to face those problems? Oh no. I cried a lot. I still wonder how I could have done that. I knew it was a scam, and yet, or when I knew it was a scam, I should have ended it then. But I thought I had found somebody that could help me get my money back. And that was the third mistake I made. The third scam that I got involved with. So, like I said, when something sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true. So you need to talk to someone you trust, a family member, a bank person, your financial planner, somebody. But learn how to deal with that problem in a healthy way. Get your mindset on solving it and getting on with your life, and get your copy of my 2 books at Amazon.com ASAP. Be sure you get the 3rd version of the Learning to Dance in the Rain. And next week, I will see you again at 12 o'clock on Tuesday. And it will be Carl, our pastor, back. And we're going to talk about loving yourself. Is that wrong to love yourself? Well, come back next week and we'll find out. Bye now. Take care. See you.